All right, everybody. Welcome to the Church of Quantumism, also known as Quantumism Movement. Today's video is going to talk about ethics and parental figures. People have told me that parental figures are not teaching their kids that stealing is wrong. They just assume the child knows that stealing is wrong, like if it's inborn somehow. That lying is wrong. Believe it or not, but I've actually met parents to see things like stealing and lying as a way of life. I know, some of you are probably saying, what? But they actually have told me that's the way of life. People I've spoken to say, and I quote, "I'm in poverty, and you know we have to do what we have to do to survive." Another one is, I quote, "The rich people are the problem." Another one, I quote, "All the rich people do is make laws and use us to cover up their wrongdoings." Some of you might have heard some of these things actually and might even believe it. Here's the other side, and some things that have been said to me. I quote, "These people are animals. They don't deserve our help because all they do is destroy everything that is given to them." I quote, "Who cares about them? It doesn't affect me." These are harsh words, and they came from people of different walks of life, and they see nothing wrong with what they said or what they believe. Many people truly try to live good lives, and I truly feel that. The problem is what they've learned from their childhood. Even though some people hate their parental figures, they feel that they understand why they did the things that they did, even if it's wrong. It's a constant pattern of bad behavior that is learned. Parental figures teaching unethical behavior to their children, and one day their children will be teaching that same behavior to their children, and so on and so forth. If you live in a family that teaches the opposite of standard universal ethics, you will believe the perception that has been passed on from your parental figures. Throughout these videos and throughout the book, if you read the book, I'll use terms of parental figures because not everyone lives in the family model that has a mother and a father. Sometimes the parental figures could be many different kinds of people that stand up for the child and help raise that child. It might seem like common sense, but I put that out there just so you know why I'm saying parental figures. In the year 2019, we are in a society where people, even with money, are stealing, and many are doing things wrong in order to get ahead. That's not really the way things should be. It's not the way it should have ever been, but the fact is that this is the world we live in now. The solution is quite simple, to the surprise of many. We just need to teach children universal ethics. Children will someday become parental figures with this knowledge. If we teach children from age 5 to 18 every year the same universal ethics, it will stick. Ethics should be considered just as important as math, reading, and writing. In my dealings with schools, it doesn't always seem that they are preparing children for the future that has to come. Here in the United States, a child at the age of 18 is considered an adult, but that adult many times has never learned how to save money, how to do his or her taxes, doesn't have any concepts of the basic things they need to do in order to, pay their bills or do anything else they need to do. We should be focused on the bigger picture, which is our future generations. Can you imagine a world where we have more freedoms? Can you imagine a world with fewer laws because people could be trusted to do the right things? Because that's why the laws are supposed to be in place, is to put people on line on doing the right things because they can't be trusted to do the right things. I'm not going to get into the whole laws for making money thing, because then that goes into a whole other government thing. But so currently the reason given for laws is to protect our general safety and to ensure our rights as citizens against abuses by other people, organizations, and by the government itself. The laws help provide for our general safety, but it's not really accurate, of course. In part, yes, but we are also in place to control people because they can't be trusted, like I said. Then there's the financial aspect, which is to help lower lawsuits. As many of you know, laws are also in place to make money for the local governments. Governments are looking at at their budgets. Instead of lowering the budgets, they continue to increase, claiming they need those funds for a possible emergency. The people who suffer are mostly the lower to middle income people, instead of helping those people get to a better place. They're assuring that they stay struggling. Not really sure why we're doing that, because the rich really isn't growing in population. The lower income levels are growing in population more. It seems like crime continues to grow and grow and grow, but if you follow the population growth, that's why it seems like crime continues to grow, and why there's less good areas, and the once good areas are starting to get really bad. We're not focusing on the children. We're trying to change the behaviors of the adults. And the adults already have their minds made up. It doesn't work that way. It has to be the children we have to focus on. We need to educate them. We need to focus on trying to make it more ethical. Now, am I delusional? Am I saying, hey, we're going to teach them, this is the right things to do, and they're going to go home and their mom and dad says, don't listen to those jerks, and the kid's still going to do the right thing? No. It's going to take a few generations of teaching these children. By the time they're great-grandparents, we're going to start seeing the major changes in that generation. Because the parental figures are actually very important. They, believe it or not, I mean, even if your father was an alcoholic or whatever the situation, horrible that it might have been at home, there's still lessons that you're still taking from that parental figure. And that's one of the problems. But if that parental figure, when he was younger, actually learned things, they might actually somewhere, what we've noticed through our society is that eventually they start changing their viewpoint as they get older, and we start getting a change. Evolution, pretty much. A good example of this will make it a little easier, because I know I'm kind of jumping around here. When we first started with the schools, and most of the kids, the farmers and that, they were more worried about them learning about how to farm and everything else. They didn't see the purpose of the children learning math or learning how to read or anything else. So the education system was kind of hard at first, but eventually, after a few generations, they started to see the value in education. It's the same with teaching universal ethics to children. Eventually, they're going to see the importance of this. And how is that going to affect the laws and everything that's in place? These children are eventually going to become congressmen. They're eventually going to be the president. They're going to eventually become the leaders of the world. And that's going to make the change, because now they're going to have a different viewpoint of the world, and they're going to have a more ethical way of seeing things. And the new children being born, because their parents are telling them what to do, they're going to be more ethical, and they're going to be trusted more to do the right things. So we won't have all these laws literally making us prisoners in a free society, because it doesn't feel like a free society these days, and it's direction that we're headed in is definitely feeling more like, a dictatorship more than anything. I hate to tell you that, but That's the direction we're headed in. And that's why it is important for parental figures to start teaching ethics, and it's important for us to get it in through the schools. And I know I've already made a bit of a difference with that a few of your states already have, here in the U.S., do teach ethics in the grade schools. Surprise, surprise, that was me who sent off all those letters to every single member of Congress and all your governors. I did get a letter back from Barack Obama telling me that, it was a great plan. He just was at the end of his term and wasn't going to be able to do much with it. But to your local governors that did send me letters, thank you. And thank you for those who actually tried, doing the change. Chicago Board of Education that told me that the idea was stupid. Hey, I have nothing to say to you guys. But we'll leave it at that. God bless you all, no matter